Sarah, the pilot episode is done and here we are back again.
Good morning.
It feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know. Seriously, they had us back again, Sam. How was that even allowed?
Well, just a podcast tip. You shouldn't say good morning because people might be listening to this in the afternoon.
Good afternoon, good evening, good Saturday,
Wherever
good
this-
Sunday, good Monday.
Very good. Well done. It's good to be
Trying
back.
to cover
anyway,
the bases.
Hey, let's
Cover the
introduce our
bases.
special guest and not waffle on anymore. Brad Case, so good to have you with us. Discipleship pastor at Mackenzie. But let's face it, you do a lot for all of our campuses. We really appreciate your ministry, brother. Dave
Mr.
Morrow.
Hello.
Dave
Sorry.
Morrow. Yeah, come on. Give me a
Will
turn
you introduce
here.
Dave?
This is Mr. Dave Morrow, as you just heard. He is the campus pastor of the infamous 5-year-old Logan campus.
Yes.
We're five.
Five.
Some
Congratulations.
Learning
my
how to
level of
walk.
my maturity, but that's fine.
And with the greatest of respect to you two, I'm most delighted to welcome Jess Baisley because she is just about fresh off the aeroplane after a 12-week jaunt.
Good job. Good job.
Welcome back, Jess.
We're so grateful you came back.
Yep.
With a tan and a longer hair, but still the same Jess.
Bags under my
She's got
No, not at
matchsticks,
all.
keeping her
Not
eyes
at all.
open this morning.
Literally.
We appreciate it so much. Okay, guys, for our audience to get to know you guys a little bit better, I'd love to kick off with a little segment we like to call
First
Or Worst. We didn't rehearse. Let's try that again.
It was good.
I'd like to introduce our first segment that we like to call
First or
Worst. That'll
Take
do.
two is better.
Lockie will do some editing on that. It'll look fantastic as
was
the
great.
reel goes out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it was great. Sam,
so
we're
what I would
pro.
like our special guest to share with us
Yes.
is the first time you did this or the
yes.
worst time you did this. And the thing is, date with your current spouse. So I'm going to start with you,
Current
Brad.
spouse.
Current spouse.
that sounds a bit dodgy. That
Yes.
sounds a bit dodgy there,
with
Sam.
your first
Not previous,
spouse.
just
Okay, you know your first spouse. Yeah. Not your worst spouse, but your first spouse.
Okay, great.
we don't want to
so-
know about
Just
all
keep
the
digging,
others,
Sam.
just the
It's
one
fine.
you got.
The first or worst date. Now, I want to put a little spin on this. Last week it was
Hot wings.
It was hot wings. This
Hot
week,
wings,
this
peoples.
week it's wheat bix.
Oh,
So
great.
you have to, before you share, you have to have at least a big bite of a wheat bick. So if you can pass that down to Bradley,
Yes,
That's
sir.
for you,
I
David.
washed my hands beforehand. Yeah, Thank you
and
very I'm glad. much.
that's for you, Jessica.
Good
So,
job.
Brad, you will go first, and take a bite, just a
man.
Hang on,
bite,
start chewing.
and then share with us
Touching.
first or worst.
Is that
Oh,
all?
we're on the clock
That's
here, mate. You got to
not
start
that big.
now. You got to start now. We can do
Go, go.
subtitles
Oh.
later.
It takes me back to you two days. Oh man. My worst date with Murphy was our third date. So Murphy and I had 3 goes at dating.
You're in the spit zone there,
I'm
Dave,
so
by the
sorry.
way.
Your second, third date.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
We were at a cafe and sat down across each other. I thought it was going really well. And Mercy broke up with me on our second, third date. Like in the cafe, over a big mug of chai. She's like, oh, this isn't going to work
tears?
out. And she's like, it's not going to work out so much that I'm going to move to Chinchilla. I was like, oh, no. Okay, great. So,
She really didn't like you, man.
Nah.
No one wants to move to Chinchilla.
No,
Which is
that's right.
greatest of respect to anyone watching from Chinchilla. But
We love you.
We love you,
love you,
Chinchilla.
Jesus
Everyone
loves
is
you
welcome.
too.
but yeah, so I
Wow.
left that. She went off and she went to Chinchilla, had fun for a year, and I brokenheartedly went home and cried into
Ate
my
dried
cup of chai.
Weetabix.
I did,
very good.
which is more
Very good.
satisfying than that ever was.
I'm trying to figure out how one has fun in Chinchilla. But anyway, let's move on. I'm getting myself in trouble with more.
Mr.
Chinchilla.
Morrow, Mr. Morrow.
Here we go, Dave.
Wow, that was a big
That's a
bite.
big
I'm
bite.
actually just going to
Huge
move slightly
bite.
over this way. I can feel it.
Go for it, mate. Come on.
Hello.
Whoa.
It was our first.
Rebound wheat bit there in the eye.
Hey, this is really unsanitary now. I
It
just
was,
like
it was
to say.
our first date, and I was trying to get to Shardy's house, and I couldn't find it. Was looking in the Melways because we're in Melbourne, and went to some little shopping centre nearby. And so I'm looking in it. Finally found out where to go. I'm in a line of traffic leaving the shopping centre, and I'm standing there, and I'm sitting in the car, and I'm like, yep, cool. Look around. This car comes up. She's a little old lady. No offense to little old ladies, but she comes up, does this, and drives straight in the side of my car. So I've just had a car accident, and so then, and this is pre-mobile phone days, which dates me a little bit. I finally get to a parent's house, and they're like, "We thought you had an accident." I'm like, "Well, actually, I did." And so,
Wow.
but hey, we made it. Got on a date, worked well. I'm married. Forgot
Good
my
job.
wedding ring at home. But that's
You forgot your ring.
You are married. You got the ring tan going on. Very good. Thanks, Dave. That was hilarious. We should bring the wheat pick out for best 30 later on. I reckon that'd be hilarious.
Quite a lot of spitball going on here.
Jessica,
by the
your
way.
turn. First or worst date after a
Second
big bite of wheat bix. Go for it.
oh yes.
You got extra.
Small
extra
Small
there,
bite,
Jess.
but the rest of it broke off.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to know how much of anyone can
Talk that way, not
understand
this
any of
way.
what was said.
My birthday, because I haven't really had so many bad birthdays. It's really dry. You know how
It's all right, Jess.
it
Share
out,
it,
come
share
on.
it with the audience.
you know how like on the first date you like dress up and everything? Oh, sorry. We didn't have any of that. I came from coaching, sweating, and so did James. He came from training. It's really dry. I can't talk properly. First date was just at a cafe. It was really great. You know how normally like you might like not be too hungry because it's your first date. We smashed down some toast and avocado. It was really great.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a
Weet
great
Bix?
first date.
And
It
Weet
worked
Bix.
well. Okay.
It worked really well.
Okay.
It was a really chilled first date. It was a
Excellent.
good first date.
Good.
Well.
Yeah.
See?
That would
True
have
love
been really.
does
That would have
run
been a really
smooth.
boring story if you hadn't eaten the wheat bix.
Yeah, it would have been.
Can we get some water for these guys? We've got one
Good
more
job,
left. I
good
said
job.
in our last episode
No,
that
no, I-
revenge is sweet.
I think we're done.
No,
Sam.
we're not done.
I think, Lockie, we can move on now.
Because
I
of
think
what
we
you
can
did
move
to me
on.
last week,
Sam, nothing but love here, Sam. Would be
I'm going to
nothing
help
but...
you out a bit, Sarah, because I think your wheat bick is a little bit too dry.
Oh, I'd just like to say I've got some dietary restrictions to all things that you might be pulling out.
We have special needs milk,
That's okay. The toilet is literally just down the hall.
Okay, this is not...
tomatoes, and mayonnaise.
I
Do
honestly
we
think
have a
on top.
vomit bucket
Well, I
nearby?
honestly
This is
think-
like youth ministry all over
I'm going to
again.
dress this one up a bit.
a condiment
Just to
on
help
that
you
will
out.
help it a lot.
Oh, yeah, it'll go
I
down.
don't want it to be dry with you, so
Is
little-
the revenge as...
A little bit of mayo on that.
I feel I was loving and kind to you
A little bit
last week,
American
Sam.
mustard.
And hot chili sauce.
Yeah.
Are
Always.
you thinking of your first or worst date right now?
No, I'm thinking of a bucket, actually, at this moment in time. Not
Chili.
thinking of anything other than...
There's a little bit of hot chili sauce. Thanks, Don, for that
I'm
one.
actually on intermittent fasting.
And
I
of
can't
course-
eat anything before
and of course,
12 o'clock.
What would
Bit of
Jesus
tomato.
do?
All right, big
My
bite.
dietitian would
Big
not
bite, and then you've got
approve.
to share with us your first or worst date. Ready?
Right,
Here we go.
there's
Come
a
on.
little-
I hope that
corner
chili
there.
sauce is hot. That's all
I
can
really
say.
hope it is.
Oh,
Oh,
It's on your
no.
jeans.
Big bite. You got to get all that sauce in. Come on, come on. There you go.
You went the wrong end.
Okay, first or worst date, Sarah Watterson. Go.
okay. Well, the first date,
Did I look like that?
actually,
Yes, yes.
I
Everyone
had
does.
a big ball gown on, and it was a ball. Oh, this is gross. Oh, my goodness. I was like, foul.
Do we need to cut to an ad break?
And there was a big bouncy castle.
Oh,
So Ian was in a big tuxedo. We weren't dating. There was a lot of flirtatious activity going on.
Wow.
And the bouncy... Oh, this is... It sticks... Oh. Anyway, the bouncy castle, I'm speaking clearly now,
yes.
wasn't attached to the bottom.
Just take
And as
another
we were
bite.
bouncing...
Just take another bite.
Some more.
No,
Keep going with your story.
and we're bouncing on the bouncy castle, flirtatiously pushing each other as you do. And he pushed me through the top and the bottom, and I actually went through the outside of the bouncy castle. And I stood up and I'd ripped all my ball dress.
Oh, gee.
And the top and the bottom were now disconnected.
Oh.
But would you believe how many people have safety pins tucked in various areas? As I stood up and my dress was depleted, people appeared with safety pins from all over.
Wow.
I managed to continue the evening.
Yes.
And yes, all was well. And we got married after
rest
that.
is
Because
history.
if you rip
That is-
dresses, then obviously you have to get married. That's
Yes, okay.
how it rolls.
That is a good story.
I think I'd like
Made
to
even
share
better.
this with
no,
you.
No. I did it last week. You can keep that. We're going to throw an ad break.
I'd like to say it's gross.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, guys. That was rather entertaining.
If we're really honest, every one of us has big questions about life. Like, why am I here? What is my purpose? Is there a God? And what happens when I die? But in the busyness and the distractions of life, so often we don't stop, pause, and ask these really important questions. Alpha is a great place to stop and ask the big questions of life and faith. Why don't you try Alpha?
Okay, and we're back, people. Thank you. There's a lot of mess going on
You're a
around
great sport,
here.
Sarah Watterson, I must say.
I just want to say we could do this forever, you know.
No, we couldn't.
Back and forth.
I think that's it. I think
Watch
that's the
your
end.
back
We are
now,
finished.
can I say, Mr. Jackson? Well, I think maybe it's time to kind of dig into something a little bit more this time.
We
What
do
are
we do
really
need that
here
ad break
for?
just to clunkily change gears, don't we?
Actually have a drink of water and pick it all out of your teeth.
right. That's
Weetabix
right.
hangs forever, people.
But this is called the Live Different podcast. It's called that because we are talking about our series in 1 Peter across all our campuses. We've got a couple of our best preachers on today.
Oh, we do.
He'll tell
Brad-
you guys.
I just met Jess.
It's fine.
Brad and Dave, you preached yesterday, and I'm sure it went superbly. And if you want to hear these guys' messages, you can tune into the podcast for each campus. We encourage you to do that to get some cross-campus action going on.
Yeah.
But Brad, let's kick it off with you. Peter makes some massive, grand statements in his letter, and it's funny because we talked last week about Peter being, you know, a bit of a buffhead.
Yeah.
And yet in his letter he writes these massive, huge theological pithy statements. One of those is this idea that we are like the new temple, we're a royal priesthood. What do you think he meant by that?
I think the key he makes these big statements. And I'm thinking the backdrop of this is the temple which they would worship at is a massive structure with massive stones. It is stationary, it's stuck in time, it's there, it's the place where people had to go. And Peter makes this call that no longer the one who is the temple is a living stone, and you, like him, are living stones. So we're not stuck in one place. We're not called to be, today, stuck in a church building doing our thing here. We're actually called to be living stones, going out and living among people as part of the community. And when he talks about being a royal priesthood then too, the role of the priest was to help people see God, come close with him, make sure they had everything they need to come to have access to God. Now, we've got Jesus, so we have access. Our job as a priesthood then is to go and witness it, go tell the world, be a community that lives together and shows people the goodness of God in our everyday life.
Yeah. I love that, mate. I love that picture of like a mobile, living, breathing temple.
Totally.
And that, you know, when the curtains rip from the top to the bottom, I think that the image that we're told mostly is that we can go into the presence of God, but equally, God's presence leaves the temple and covers the earth through his people.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Dave, what about you, mate? What are some thoughts that you've got around this whole spiritual priesthood?
Yeah, I reckon it would have been so countercultural because they were used to going to a place to meet with God, but through other people, through the priests and everything else. All of a sudden, it was this thing of going, no, you don't have to go there anymore. In fact, that's not even a scandal, but it's actually that now we've got Jesus living inside of us and at work in and through our lives. And so it was this kind of this moment where I'm sure they were like, hold on, but we have to go there. They actually don't have to go there, but we have to go and see that person who then goes to God on our behalf. And we need to bring these offerings to get, to be able to get forgiveness for our sins. And it's like, no, Jesus has done that. And I wonder how many people, it was a kind of that moment where they were like, yeah, but this doesn't make sense. Like, but we have to, don't we have to do something? Like we have to earn it, don't we? We have to, and he's like, no, we don't have to earn it anymore. Jesus has already done it.
Yeah.
No, but surely we've got to. I reckon how many of us still wrestle with that today? You know, we sin. I mean, I blow it at ask my kids and my family many times, and there's many moments where I have to do something to kind of beat myself up enough to feel like I can come to God because I've kind of done enough work to get his repentance where Jesus goes, no, I've already done it.
Yeah.
And
that's
I'm
good
for them.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
All I was going to say was, as a practical outworking for people that are listening and they're sitting there going, yeah, that sounds great, it's totally irrelevant in my life. What's a practical outworking for people who are just listening today?
Yeah, I reckon one of the things about being one of those living stones is we get stuck and paralyzed out of fear of what we need to do. Like,
Yeah.
I think we get stuck in saying, oh, I have to do this, or I have to behave like this, or I have to do, like, we create these lists. And if you look at Jesus' life, again and again and again and again, he was telling the Pharisees, like, think Christians of the day, like people who belong to God, stop following the rules and actually go and be, love and be.
Yes.
And I think the practical outworking of that is, what's the need you can see to meet? Like, who's the person in front of you can love? How do you make sure that the experience of God that you have on Sunday doesn't stop on Sunday?
Yeah, that's good.
Monday morning
That's
when
good.
you rock up to work, how do you love and care for that person who just grinds your gears when you rock up to work
That's
and you're
good,
like, I
Brad.
hate working with them? go out of your way to bless them with something. That's a living stone, not like
Yeah.
a stone that's stuck on a Sunday or stuck in the temple.
That's good. That's really good.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes we operate too like we still have temples. They're called church buildings.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that we think that the place to encounter God is. And I love what you said, Dave. Like the place to encounter God is at church on Sunday in that building. Like that's a sacred place. That's they are very special places, and we're right to put
Absolutely.
effort into creating those environments. But hey, it's just a building. Like
Yeah.
the temple system of worship, where you have to present yourself through a series of rituals and only one person once a year could go into the very presence of
Yeah.
God. That's all gone because of what Jesus has done.
Yeah.
And more than just like it's brilliant when the temple gathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great when the temple gathers, but equally as the temple scatters to various parts of the city, that it's still the temple, it's still
Yeah.
the church, it's the
There are
people of God.
many, many temples out in the
Absolutely.
community. And if that's true, if we take that call seriously to be living stones or a royal priesthood, the temple of God is anywhere we are.
Yeah.
And if we are the temple, people gather with us, they are experiencing and tasting and seeing that God is
That's
good.
exactly
But isn't
right.
that the challenge? Like, isn't that a challenge to go, well, I mean, that's what the series is called, Live Different. That's what this podcast is called. That's the challenge to go. That's the beautiful part of it, is that when we go out, we are the light of the world. You know,
Yeah.
as we go out, the challenge is, what kind of light are we?
Yeah.
Because we all know people who have encountered people that would call themselves Christians who had a bad day, month, year, whatever, and weren't the best example of a light.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my brother. Like, we grew up in a Christian home, and yet my brother walked away from his faith at 16 years old because of a bunch of mates that... Now, he wasn't the greatest example either, but a bunch of mates who probably knew the things and did the things and ticked the box and bought the shirt or whatever it is, church-wise, and yet lived a very different lifestyle. And I remember talking to my brother... just recently, as he was going, but Dave, that was a challenge. You know, I saw people who called themselves Christians and yet didn't live like Christians.
Yeah, wow.
And I was smart enough to realise that as a 16-year-old kid, we shouldn't be doing this, but they didn't care. And then on Sunday, they would turn up a very different person.
Yeah, sure.
It's a challenge for them. It's a challenge for me.
I think one of the challenges I know, and talking to my kids as they've got older, is if you talk to somebody on a Sunday, would you use the same language on a Sunday as you would use on a Friday night if you were out with your friends? You should have the same words, the same language in both places, rather than you adopt a different persona.
Like on a Sunday morning versus on the Live Different podcast.
Exactly, Sam. Exactly. Good
I'm
segue.
challenged by that, Sarah. No, I think this is this thinking and this whole reality for followers of Jesus is huge. And my encouragement to sort of wrap up this discussion would be, you know, the temple in the old covenant and the tabernacle before it, it was the place where the presence of God dwelt among people. That was the God limited his presence to the temple. But now it's exploded, right? So if you're listening to this podcast today on your way to work or whatever, where you're going today, and even right now, you are the presence of God in that place. And so when you think about what people came to the temple for, this intersection of heaven and earth, the full reality of heaven and God being manifested on earth, that's what you are. That's what you are today. And yes, we can stuff it up and we can carry it badly, but that doesn't change God's grace and his power on display in your workplace or at your school or at your university or in your street or in your sporting club. You are the intersection of heaven and earth because the Spirit of God dwells in you.
That's good, Sam.
That's your missionary task.
It's
great.
Yeah.
And I
Good
think
job.
it's helping people realise that we're not perfect. So we will make mistakes.
Yeah.
And yet realising that there is something different about our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
actually, on that note, Dave, you very succinctly put that together in a few seconds. I reckon
Best 30.
we are ready
Yeah.
for what I call the Fast and the Furious, what Sam calls
That was a
something
bad
different.
idea. We threw that on the floor. That was
But
I
Fast
like
and
that
Furious.
idea.
Because
I
you don't
like
want,
that idea.
do you want furious preachers? I don't think we want furious preachers. I think we.
Oh, the Fast
I think
and the
plenty of
Lovely.
people. I think plenty of people would like.
The love.
Fast and the Lovely.
I think plenty of people would like fast preachers, particularly at Gateway.
Well,
But-
this is the moment.
At Redlands.
Anyway,
I nailed that on Sunday night. Just saying.
This
Brad,
is the moment.
This is over to you.
Sure.
You've got 30 seconds to give us the best 30 seconds from your message.
Who's got the
Okay.
timer, boys? Who's got
Is
the
there
timer?
down this camera here?
down this camera?
Lockie.
And
Lockie's got the timer.
the clock will be
wait a minute.
there next
Have
to
you
the
got your
camera.
glasses on, Sam? Can you see the
Come on.
timer?
No, I told you this last week. I can see that perfectly. It'll come up in big font. Here we go.
All right.
Big font.
Over to you, Brad. 3, 2, 1.
The question really for us is, as we think about these verses, is what sorry, I'm getting distracted. what are we building our life on? If Jesus is the cornerstone of our life will look more like his life than it looks like ours. Are we building our life on the treasure, leisure, and pleasure we want to seek in the world around us, which makes us look one way, like the world? Or are we going to look like Jesus, our cornerstone of our faith? Are we going to love people around us, witness to his goodness, and share the good news of Jesus wherever we go?
That's good.
Wait.
Even with the distraction.
Whoa, what a win.
I don't know what that sounded
That was
what
fantastic.
a win,
No,
Mr.
look,
Bruce was
Case.
gonna fall down.
Okay,
There's,
no pressure, Mr. Moreau, but
Yeah,
Mr.
no.
Case
Outstanding,
finished
Brad.
exactly on
Ditto.
time.
Mine.
With time to spare
Ditto.
and a distraction. That was
Very
perfect.
good.
Well done, Brad.
Pleasure,
Good
leisure,
job.
and
I stole that from Gad Jones from Sunday.
Oh,
Just
did ya?
sorry.
No,
That's
no,
fine.
from-
I
mean,
wasn't
a few
here,
weeks
so
ago.
You need to
no
drop
one's
that.
Logan.
Could
so.
own that.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dave
Mr.
Morrow,
Morrow,
here we
this
go.
is it. You ready?
You're on in 3, 2, 1.
If we are to live more like Jesus, if we're going to live differently, then we need to live differently. You know, when people look at our lives, what do they see? Do they see the same as what they are living, or do they see something that's counterculture? They see something that's different. And if we're going to be people that follow Jesus passionately, then that's what we need to look more like Jesus. 20 seconds.
Dude,
Oh,
Wow.
You are
I
the
tell
fastest
ya,
preacher at Gateway. I
That
reckon,
is
across-
it. We are
across
done.
campus.
I didn't
Short
even
and
get to use
It's
one
good.
of my noises. I was all ready.
And we are.
you.
I was going to
quite-
have
we are
Tweety
quite
birds.
happy about that, Sarah.
Dave, you were going to get Tweety birds. I
Come
was
on.
going to go tweet, tweet,
Oh,
tweet,
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 tweet.
tweet.
Well, Sarah, would you like to close us out? That
You
is
can
the
have
end
that
of our
next
second
week.
episode. Hopefully
Well,
we're
guys,
back next week.
thank you for joining us. It's been fabulous as
has been.
always, Sam. You know, next week, watch your back, my
Yeah.
friend.
Thank you, Brad.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you,
Jessica.
Jess.
Thank
You can
you.
go and have a nap now.
Do we have a camera on her? Did she fall asleep during that session? Are you
I was
awake?
quite.
You okay?
No, I was present.
Okay,
I was
good.
listening. It was great stuff.
She was
I was
great.
just
Good,
like,
excellent. No,
Laser
I'm not-
focus.
it's
Taking
fine.
notes.
You've got a great excuse. Jet lag is a very valid
Very
excuse.
valid excuse. Guys, thank you for joining us, and we will see you again, same time, same place.
Amen. Go be the temple.
Brilliant.